Hi there, folks. Robert Fedderson from CharityCAN here. I do apologize for anyone that's on the line that had to sit through those technical difficulties we were having earlier. We are live now, and we're ready to talk about personal prospect profiles. So let me make sure that you all have this link. I'm going to circulate it over to Matt there for a second, who is manning the chat, to make sure that we are all on the same page here. Just bear with me one moment while I do that. Okay, perfect. It looks like Matt can hear me. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'll let Matt let me know if anyone is in the chat and would like to talk. Always feel free to ask any questions about personal prospect profiles or really anything else that you do see on the screen here today. This is a super useful feature in CharityCAN. Really what we allow you to do with this feature is save prospect profiles, alter those prospect profiles, and then export them. They differ from our classic prospect profiles, our algorithmically generated ones, in that you can include the donation records, biographies, salary data you want in them. So it's really only showing information that is relevant to you and your organization. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it. So to save a prospect profile, the first thing we need to do is find a prospect profile. And I'm sure all the CharityCAN users here know that the best way to find a prospect profile is to do an integrated search. So let's go ahead and do that. For the purposes of today, I want to use Jim Balsillie, formerly of BlackBerry. So we've typed in Jim Balsillie, and we know we're looking for a prospect profile, so we don't need to spend so much time on these other data sets. Let's jump right into it, and we're going to go ahead and view Jim Balsillie's algorithmically generated CharityCAN prospect profile. But don't worry, we're going to save it to our workstation, and we're going to make it our own in a moment. So the first thing I want to do is press Save to Profiles here. Now what this does is this saves Jim Balsillie's profile to my own prospect profile workstation. Prospect profile workstations aren't shared among other users, but they are shared amongst your organization. So if you have a few other colleagues that are using CharityCAN as well, you'll all be able to see and manage the same prospect profiles. So what we're going to do to access my prospect profile is click over here on my prospect profiles. And we can see that we have one profile saved here for Jim Balsillie. So what we can do now is let's jump into that, and we'll start editing it and seeing some of the things we can do to really make this our own. So a few things we can do here from Jim Balsillie's prospect profile. We can choose add a section here at the top. Now this is useful. Let's say we want to add some social media information about Jim Balsillie. This stuff doesn't appear in the regular CharityCAN profile, but you can easily put it in this prospect profile. So let's click Full Contact Media Summary. Let's say we want to add the BlackBerry Twitter account to this. We could add any Twitter account we want to, or search for any social media information we want to on Jim Balsillie. But this will be an easy way to show you folks how this tool works. There we go. So we get some BlackBerry social media information. We can jump out to their Twitter page here. We can jump out to their website, and we get a brief description about BlackBerry and the topics that BlackBerry mostly posts about on social media. Now, if we had Jim Balsillie's his personal Twitter handle, we could put that in there, or really any other Twitter handle that you'd like to associate with him, like the Center for International Governance, perhaps, or say the Balsillie Family Foundation, if they had their own Twitter profile. You could include anything there. The next section we get to is charity directorships. Now, a couple cool things we can do here. We can add and remove the charity directorships that are relevant to us. Adding and removing charity directorships will modify the relationship map and the connections you see. So let's say for the purposes of this argument, we're not really concerned about the fact that Jim Balsillie was a chairman at the Center for International Governance and Innovation. We don't want that to be included in our personal profile on Jim, and we don't want to see those connections in Jim's relationship map. We press delete, and we've removed that profile. It's no longer in our version of Jim Balsillie's prospect profile. We can do the same thing with corporate candidate records. If we're not worried about this BlackBerry directorship here, we could delete it. Likewise, if you know of a record that you want to include in it, or you want to include someone else's record in this profile, you can just press add here and search for a company name to narrow down your search, and then search for a directorship that you'd like to add to that prospect profile. Static prospect profiles in CharityCAN, like the type you access through the integrated search, you can't modify them like this. Once you save a profile, though, you can really do almost anything you like with it. Scrolling down, let's see a couple other things we can modify here. This is all Thomson Reuters compensation information. If this isn't important to your profile in Jim Balsillie, press delete, remove all of this stuff here. Now, donation records. This is probably the most powerful thing about personal prospect profiles, because we can really drill down and include the donation records we want, as well as associate foundation gifts and political donations to this profile. Jim Balsillie is a perfect example for this, because we could include all his personal charitable gifts under charitable donations, and then we could also include Balsillie Family Foundation gifts under foundation donations. So you really get a much more comprehensive view of Jim Balsillie's complete giving profile when you can include personal and foundation gifts, as well as political. So let's go ahead and include some gifts right now, so I can show you folks how this tool works. So let's scroll down to our integrated search results. We do give you these here because this is just, it's really one of the easiest ways to do it. So let's include a few gifts. For the sake of argument, let's say we only want to include in our profile of Jim Balsillie his $1 million gifts. So let's choose these $1 million gifts, Wilfrid Laurier, Milford Laurier. So it looks like we have 3 total gifts to Wilfrid Laurier, and these are cumulative giving, so these are likely all part of the same gift. But let's add these to our saved profile. Click on Jim Balsillie. Now we're building out that profile there. And we scroll down and we can see that our gifts have been added to this profile. Now these are under charitable donations. These are personal gifts. Let's check out some foundation gifts and add them so we can see what that looks like. Scrolling back down again, I'm going to look for some Balsillie Family Foundation gifts here under this integrated search. I may need to go to the profile page directly for those. It looks like I do, but that's no problem. What we'll just do is we'll jump into a charity search. We'll find the Balsillie Family Foundation. And we'll add some of these gifts. I apologize. I need to go to the integrated search to do this. Balsillie. That's where I can add the gifts from. Balsillie Family Foundation will include this gift to Rare. Let's include this Arctic Research gift and this Goodwill Industries Ontario Great Lakes gift. We'll add these to our saved Jim Balsillie profile. Done. And then we click back on My Prospect Profiles. Choose our Jim Balsillie profile, scroll down, and now you can see that we've also added foundation gifts to this profile. And one thing you may notice that's pretty cool here, when you save your prospect profile, we can include our graphing features into the donation history. Typically, these are only a part of our foundation reports, where we show you gifts by distribution, by organization, type, and by city. But when we're doing it in a profile, we can include this information for you to allow you to really easily visualize what your prospect's giving is like. Let's add a couple political donation records to see what that looks like. So scrolling down, let's go over to political donors. We have 5 gifts here. Let's add them all. I'll select them all and add them to our saved profile. Jim Balsillie. And we'll go back up here. And then we go by political donation records, and we can see by our graphing features that, hey, we're about even between giving to the Liberals and the Conservatives. So even though it's only 5 gifts or 6 gifts, and you can probably pretty easily tell that just by looking, the graphing feature does allow you to visualize that quite easily there. And we can also look at gifts by recipient too, to see the specific organizations he's giving to. So the big takeaway of this is that when you're adding donation records to a personal prospect profile, A, you can only include the donation records that you want to include. B, you can include foundation donation records and associate them with a personal prospect profile. And C, our graphing features are now usable in that personal prospect profile. So there's really a lot more you can do with this personal prospect profile than you can with just the standard static CharityCAN prospect profile. Now, moving forward, there are a couple more cool things I would like to show you we can do with this personal prospect profiles page. So what I want to do is go back to my prospect profiles page. Now from here, what we can do here, you'll see this list that says suggested prospects on the right. Now this is pretty cool. Right now I have my default organization set to Rogers Communications, and I just did this as a standard kind of thing to look at when we were looking at it initially. But what I want to do is I want to change this to a fundraising organization to show you how powerful this tool is and how much it's going to help you folks raise more money. Let's change the default organization to the Oakville Hospital Foundation. There we go. So now we've set a default organization. And for all the current CharityCAN users listening, what I recommend you do is set this as your own organization. This is going to save you a lot of time, and hopefully it's going to point new prospects to you. So I'll show you how we can do that right now. So let's say, for the sake of argument, I work at the Oakville Hospital Foundation, and I'm in need of some new people in my pipeline. I've set Oakville Hospital Foundation as my default organization, and now I can see that what it's done here is it's suggesting a number of names to me based on Oakville Oakville Hospital Foundation. So let's just go back to here. There we go. So let's check out some of these profiles that CharityCAN is suggesting to me based on their connections to the Oakville Hospital Foundation. So let's look at Aubrey Bailey first. So now we build a prospect profile for Aubrey Bailey. This is the CharityCAN version of the profile. So let's just take a quick look through it. Okay, some charity directorships, corporate Canada records, potentially in finance, as well as resource exploration, BA from Western Ontario, fairly robust relationship map, good combination of charity boards and corporate boards. Household data indicates a high net worth postal code. That's always good to see in a prospect. And we have 222 donation records, and we have some very sizable gifts. So if I work at the Oakville Hospital Foundation, I know two things now. I know I have a connection to Aubrey Bailey based on the members of my board. And I also know that Aubrey Bailey is a very well-qualified prospect just by quickly looking through that profile. So what I want to do here, I want to save Aubrey's profile. So next time I come into CharityCAN, I can look and I can see that Aubrey is an active prospect that I'm currently researching, and I'm in the process of qualifying Aubrey W. Bailey as a prospect for my organization. So I click on my prospect profiles, and I can see that now, in addition to James Lawrence Balsillie, I've got Aubrey W. Bailey. Now we can also do this. We'll keep suggesting you profiles that you may want to look at based on your default organization. So we could look at Edward Kress next. Looks like we stumbled upon another interesting prospect. Chairman of the board at Brookfield, a number of interesting charity directorships, corporate Canada connections. Let's check donation records, and some fairly good donation records too. Edward, and a Canadian Who's Who entry, which is always a fantastic sign someone is influential, wealthy, or probably both. So let's go ahead and save Edward Kress's prospect profile. Go back to my prospect profiles, and we can see that Edward Kress has been added there. So you can see how easy it is to find new high-value prospects based on their connections to your organization. Setting yourself as the default organization in my prospect profiles will allow CharityCAN to start pointing you prospects based on their connections to your board. And in the examples I just show you, we just stumbled upon two fairly interesting prospects. Another very cool thing we do when you set a default organization is we auto-populate the relationship maps for you. So now every time you go to relationship path search, your organization will be set as the default to make your search that much easier. Now, there's just a couple more things I did want to go over on my prospect profiles, just a couple mechanical things there. Because they're so easy to personalize and really make your own, we want to make them very easy for you to print and export as well. So just like our standard ones, you press export, And this is going to export this prospect profile as a Word document. And keep in mind that the things you included in this prospect profile are only the things you want to include, whether they're charity directorships, corporate boardships, donation records, foundation donation records, political donation records. It's only the stuff that is relevant to you. So this profile that you're exporting will be personalized to you. And you can also print directly right from here. The big takeaways I want everyone to have from today are that you can save prospect profiles to your workstation in CharityCAN. Prospect profiles are shared amongst an organization. Every time you log into CharityCAN, any prospect profiles that you have saved will be visible under My Prospect Profiles. You can edit those profiles to include as much or as little information as you want. You can also set yourself as a default organization, and we will suggest prospect profiles that you may want to look at based on your board's connections to those people. Setting yourself as a default organization also makes relationship path searches quite a bit easier, simply because we auto-populate the field for you. I'd like to thank everyone very much for the time they spent today learning about personal prospect profiles. I am always available for one-on-one sessions where we can go over this more in depth. Just email me at robert@charitycan.ca or give me a call at 905-330-4909, and we'll set up a time where we can go over anything here one-on-one. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Bye.